creative routes. Let's talk about them. But before we do that, if you're new here, welcome. I make videos about design, engineering, human-computer interaction, but these diary entries are a little bit different. They're informal, they're simple, they are more transparent, me talking to the camera and sharing the learnings and the journey of building this YouTube channel from the very beginning and where I share the process. And today we're talking about creative ruts, which is something I've been going through in the last weeks. Let's chat. So creative ruts are those moments where your mind has zero ideas, zero, literally zero. And whatever it comes up with, it feels like crap. It feels like it doesn't work. It doesn't fit the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. The ideas sort of look the same. The motivation, the creative power is sort of on the floor. And if that resonates with you, then don't worry, you're not alone. It happens to everyone, to all of us. And it's just part of the process. I want to talk about that. I want to demystify some of that in the creative process and the things that we go through. So to better illustrate this, let's do a thing that any good engineer will do. Let's put it in a graph. So we'll see how I make this later, but basically in the y-axis you have, let's call it creative power. In the x-axis, then you have time in a project or something like that. There's a graph that looks like this, and that basically explains the journey of how you start, how you have a creative rut, and then how you continue and push forward. Not every time looks like that, but most of the time it does. Let's start with the story. So you start the project, you are very excited, you want to continue, you have loads of ideas, you start putting things together, start sketching, start molding, start shaping, start 3D modeling. You are excited, you are passionate, everything seems possible. Until one moment, you start realizing, this didn't turn out how I expected it. This part here is not what I thought it would be. Or this doesn't look how it used to look in my head. And the idea starts changing, starts taking a different form, a different shape. It's the co-evolution of the problem-solution space where you start working on specific solutions for the thing you're trying to make, but as you do that, you learn new things, either about yourself, about your creative process, about the actual problem that you're trying to solve for a user, and then that idea starts taking a different shape. So that co-evolution is consistently changing. It might be scary at times. And that change, that constant change, if we are not humble to ourselves and to say, hey, this original idea I had might not work, it might turn into a creative rut. So you start a project with excitement and mix of ideas, you start throwing ideas to the board. The idea starts growing. As it grows, it grows, it grows, and then at some point, somehow the energy starts going down and it decreases here. In that moment, it is very likely that you face a sort of creative rut. They can change and vary in all scales and sizes of creative ruts, but the important part is that creative ruts put the completion of the idea at risk, and that's something that you need to keep in mind. And if we're able to push through this creative rut, we're likely to see the project through completion. Over the last few videos and some of the ones you're about to see, I felt that creative rut consistently at a specific point in the creative process. At the beginning, where I have an idea of where I want to take the video, where I want to take the audience, and a point I'm trying to make. As I start putting things together, I usually record a voice, the voiceover, I select the music, I put it together in a timeline, and I get a feel of more or less what the video is going to be about. And that gives me ideas of the things I need to record on camera. Sometimes I get lost within the realm of possibility, and there are so many options of visual things that I can put on the screen that not constraining the process starts feeling overwhelming. And what tends to happen is that if you don't manage this properly, you get into this creative rut. But what I've learned is that they are part of the process. And once I started looking at them as part of the process, it changed somewhat how I work with them. My way of dealing with creative ruts, it varies depending on the root of the creative rut. Generally, they can be divided into two ways of working. Part number one, I get away from the problem and I just distract myself, work on a different problem, do sports, or just focus on something completely unrelated. And part two is actually working through the process, working through the problem, trying new ideas, experimenting and combining, because sometimes you just don't know what you're looking for, what you are expecting for a specific detail, and the only way to find it is for you to play with the problem and the different solutions that you have at hand And then that co-evolution of the problem solution space will at some point tell you, this is what I'm looking for. It is important that while you do that, you don't expect anything from that experimentation. Don't expect anything grandiose. You're just experimenting. See what new ideas spark, what new things come up. That's it. So my goal with this video is to normalize creative ruts. Everyone goes through them, even the most amazing designers. The message I want to share, even if it inspires or resonates only with one person, is that take it as an opportunity to learn something about the creative process and your own process and about yourself. And I think that's the interesting part. To me, it's as if I discovered a new corner in my mind that I haven't explored before. And that's why it feels uncertain, and that's completely fine. But once you change it into, hey, this is not a blocker, this is more of a new world that I could explore, I think really interesting things can happen there, and it changes the way I approach them. Thank you for staying until the end, and also thank you for the great support many of you have given me. It's very motivating. So if this resonates with you, please let me know. If you want to check some of the other videos, you can check season 1 here or here. I don't know where I will put it. Well, see you in the next video.